Some EV money.
Money. I think I smell Grammy, frankly. Is
I
it
don't know, maybe. Or
is
at
that a
least some sort of award. Maybe
I think
I
so.
mean, we got to get like a video
We just
setup for that, so we could submit it to like an MTV VMA or something.
okay. Oh, are we still getting echo?
I
Is
don't
it
hear an
me?
echo. Did you hear an echo? Bum bum bum.
How about now? Echo?
I don't hear an echo.
I hear
I didn't.
but
I did. Maybe you did, but I mean, I
well,
don't hear
let's
an
see.
echo. So.
Well, if anyone in the comments hears echo, let me know. Otherwise, it'll just drive me crazy.
Oh, something like that. Well, this is EV Money, our monthly EV show, talking about EVs. You got Gabe, the EV resident, and me, the doubting EV analyst. So, not doubting. I mean,
Not
I don't
doubting.
mind
You can
them.
be doubting. You can
Oh,
doubt.
look, hey, I think they have their place. I just don't. I'll stick with my original thought. They have their place. I think they're pretty cool, but I don't think they're the end all be all. I
Well,
think they're part of the solution, not the entirety of the solution. So, um, with that being
well,
said, it is EV Money, and we got a good show for you today.
we do. This time for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
We're not just saying
first, yeah, we got a couple of guests we're going to bring on in just a couple moments. We have Aaron and Steve coming on. We're going to be talking about some robo fails. We got to love those goddamn robo fails.
Robo
Um,
fails.
Allegedly, I'm getting an EV. That's one of the topics that was put on here when it comes
Yes, you
from
are.
Gabe. So,
Yes.
apparently, and then
They are making you get one.
we're going to be talking about the Model Y going down in price.
Model Y.
Yeah,
That's how you got to say. You have to say Model Y.
Model
Say it like
Y.
that. Why? Model Y.
Why not?
Model Y not. That's what they should call it. The Model Y not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, why not? Exactly.
Then
Then we're going to be
they-
talking about your road trip. So we got a little bit
Yes.
to talk about. I already seen Nathaniel talking about Buffalo by the Slice. So thank you for watching that.
Oh, man.
Yes,
What an
that was
excellent show.
Bella Pizza and the Eternal Flame is the episode he was talking about over on my other episode. You know what? Honestly, side note, completely out of the realm of EV. When it comes to pizza and that, that's kind of my comfort food. Like I could eat a ton of it and no problem. So it's a complete side note there.
I make it at home.
Yeah, I make some at
Yeah.
home too. We have dough here, and then I'll
What
put
do you
the
do,
sauce, cheese toppings on, all that good
how do you-
stuff. So
How do you get your oven hot enough?
we put it at 450.
450. Come on. Here's what you do. You get an electric oven, and then you disable the thermostat, and then you put it on self-cleaning mode, and then you heat up like a 14-inch cast iron skillet to red hot on the burner, and then you put it upside down on top of the broiler. Then you put the broiler on high, and now you got the whole thing about 950 degrees. And
You don't need it that
the floor
high.
doesn't catch fire. Yes, to make good
See,
pizza. Oh yeah.
no. You don't need that.
Yes.
If you're gonna do like a wood fired or a brick oven or something like that, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
Which I'm probably going to be once I build my house. I'm probably going to be building a
God,
pizza oven in there too.
God.
But
Brick pizza, but
when you're doing like I've worked at pizzeria for about 10 years, so they got the conveyor belt one, and that was usually around like 460, 470,
oh, man.
and it would just go right through. You just got to time it out right, and it's the same thing. You got to time it out
It's
because
another
otherwise,
pizza. It's another pizza. It's another ride. It's another pizza.
it's a
You would
pizza.
actually, you would be fined in Italy. So, I'm not even kidding. They would fine you for cooking a pizza that way and then calling it pizza. They would.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the American pizza is a lot different from a Sicilian pizza.
This is
So,
like, I'm talking Neapolitan.
well,
Anyway.
or Neapolitan, anything from Italy or something, Italy, Sicily, all
Anyway,
that
but
area, they're
if
gonna have
one
their
were-
own.
But Chris, if one was maybe looking on YouTube and wanted to see a really good video series of reviewing pizza restaurants, maybe in Buffalo, New York, do you have any
Yeah,
recommendations?
I think there's one. It's called Buffalo by the Slice,
What?
and not only that, but it also explains some cool things about the area of Buffalo. Not just 7 feet of snow, and not just 4 years of Super Bowl losings. So there's a lot
You
more.
talk it up a little bit. You talk it up. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
It's a lovely city. My sister lives there. McKinley was shot there. It's great.
Oh,
For all you,
there's quite a bit there.
all you
Or well, I
McKinley
should say
fans.
here for me. But yeah, if you're ever in the Buffalo area, hit up a couple of pizzerias, come over, hang out. It'll be a lot of fun. But
Wings,
let's
wings.
get back
Give
to
me the
it. Let's
wings.
bring on
All right.
Steve. He is going to be talking about full self-driving when it comes to Tesla. What's up, Steve? How you doing?
Hey, how's it
Mr.
going, guys?
Sassman.
How's it going? And then we also have Aaron on talk about some things. So, Aaron, how you doing?
Good. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me.
Awesome.
Aaron,
Well,
Aaron.
appreciate you guys coming on. First, actually, before we get into you guys and what you guys are talking about, we do want to also bring up the EV Facebook group. Right now, we are streaming to the EV Facebook group, as well as YouTube and LinkedIn and, the main RideShare Guy Facebook and Twitter. So we got quite a bit going on there. But if you're not already part of the EV Facebook group, check it out. Link is going to be in the description below. You can check this out. It is designed for EV and Lyft driving. Or, I'm sorry, Uber and Lyft EV driving. And if you're thinking about getting an EV, if you have an EV, this is a great group for you. So go head over there, and Gabe may let you in. He may not. It just depends. It depends on the answers that you answer to the questions that he asks. Yeah. Just saying.
Either me or one of our awesome moderators who just Dave and Adam and Aaron, you're a moderator for us, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
All you guys do a great job. Steve, did I add you to our crew? You're welcome
I've
to
been
join
in there,
if
yeah.
you want to. Oh yeah. Okay, good. But are you one of our moderators? No.
No.
You're a group expert. Yeah. You are of course welcome to become a moderator if that's a thing that you want to do. If you find yourself lacking purpose. And you're like, I need this. Because purpose in life is a key to longevity. Did you know that? Anyway, okay, so what's up, guys? Thanks so much, you guys, for joining us. I invited Aaron on because he is Business Insider famous, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We saw this article. We're like Aaron Lavender hipsters here at RideShare Guy. We were totally into him before anyone, before it was cool. But
RideShare Guy got me connected to them in the first place.
Yeah.
And you were actually featured in Business Insider like a week or two before, I think.
What? Little old me. I know they were talking about expenses, which I gotta say I beat expenses like a gong in the group. But man, if there's one thing that the RideShare Guy and EV Money and the Show Me the Money Club, if there's one thing that we stress, it's expenses. How much are you spending? How much are you spending to make your money? Do you really think you're making that much money, or what? And if you don't know your expenses to the penny, you don't know. You don't know.
Yep.
You don't know.
And you could be losing money and you don't realize it. So quite a bit there.
Yeah. And I think and I think when it comes to EVs, it's doubly important because people just assume you're going to make more money with an EV, but that might not be the case. Yeah. So let's see. I had some questions for Aaron.
Yeah, and my perception, you're saying you need to know him to the penny. My perception is I find it really hard to really know what my true expenses are driving an EV. Mm-hmm. Because the short-term expenses, I spend about 5 cents a mile on energy, and that fluctuates whether I'm using superchargers or home charging. But to me, I invested a lot of money at the beginning in buying this car. But I feel like it really, whether it was a good investment depends on how long the battery lasts, what the cost of replacement are, and if I'm able to recoup any of my investment reselling the car, which the price has been very all over the place. Sure. So it's kind of easy to say in one day, I'm not spending a lot, but I got this big car loan, and I don't know how long that battery is going to give me, which is kind of the big determiner of long term.
So have you like penciled out a best case scenario, worst case scenario in terms of expenses?
So basically what I did was I put in 250,000 miles, and the price of my loan on my car, with interest, kind of overestimated for, tires, which I went through a lot at the beginning when I was kind of driving, like a go-kart all the time, and
Right.
been more careful, and I've also got better tires on it.
Car fast, man.
So yeah, I basically divided 250,000 miles, which seems to be pretty accurate range for that car, assuming that I recoup no value on the car, and that's where I get about 30 cents a mile. So I bought the Teslas when the price was a lot higher than now. I overpaid for it, but I'm kind of like, if I can get 250,000 miles, I do average out to making $1.50 a mile, including all my deadhead time to the chargers, time going back home empty. So I'm like, yeah, if I can, get 250,000 miles.
That's your calculation, $1.50 a mile. So all expenses in, and then divide by 250K, and you get $1.50.
No, I'm saying 30 cents a mile for.
Oh, you're saying 30 cents. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good,
then,
good. No, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about to the penny. If you can have a really good estimate, because you're never gonna really know for sure until 10 years has gone by or 5 years has gone by. But if you can have a really good guess to the, to like 23 cents, or I figure 23 cents, you can say 30 cents. I think 30 cents sounds like a really great ballpark. Then there you go. I think that's as good as anyone can do.
And if battery replacement does become a viable option, if it's $10,000 to get another 250,000 miles out of the car, that kind of, could make the expenses go low.
Have you priced a battery pack for the Model Y?
Well, so I'm in a Model 3.
Oh, you're in a Model 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an idiot.
For the Model Y, it's 12 grand.
There you go. Boom. And probably about the same for the Model 3, right? It's similar size, or it depends on, you have the long range?
So I have the rear wheel drive. And so I bought it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Model Y.
Yeah. So I do have a limited battery compared to newer cars. I get 220 is the listed range. Rarely get that much.
What year is yours?
It's 2019.
Okay. So it's an older one. And did you buy it new?
I bought it. It had about 10,000 miles on it.
Oh, cool. Okay. Great. So you probably didn't do too bad pricing wise.
Well, I bought it last summer, and so I paid over 40,000 for it. And that was kind of at the point, I decided to kind of depend on this job as I transitioned careers. I rented a Tesla first, and I mean, I really did get addicted to driving for Uber and Lyft, and then to doing it in a Tesla, which I mean, it was really love at first sight with the car for me. And I kind of just, it might not have been the most rational decision, but felt safer in it. Just felt like it was so reliable in and out of downtown. And that was kind of the point where there really was a widespread perception that Teslas would retain their resale value. People like Gabe were kind of driving cars for Lyft and Uber and then flipping them because the price was so high. And so since then, the car has lost a lot of its resale value, and now I could get a Model Y for what I paid. But yeah, I think even given the bad car loan, it's new for me, kind of being thinking like a business person. You kind of make some good decisions, some bad, but the power I have now is to kind of chip away at that loan and get miles out of the car rather than sell at a loss, at least for right now.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing that you can do too is, if you figure out those expenses, you can also figure in to what a new car could cost, and then that way you can add that and tack that in to your expenses. But instead of using it as an expense, you put it into like a savings account or something else. So then that way, once, let's say the battery needs replacing, or you're looking at getting a new car, you don't even have to worry about a car loan because you can just walk in with the money in hand. So that's another aspect too, especially if this is something that you're looking at a long-term, something that's going to last you for, several years in terms of making some sort of income. That's another option that I don't think a lot of people are looking at or doing because they're just probably looking, oh, we'll take the car loan out. But if you can pre-plan for that, and say, okay, well, maybe over in 5 years from now, I'll have to replace the car. Well, in 5 years, you could look at it and say, well, per trip or per mile or, per shift or whatever, I got to put X amount of dollars away to be able to do that. And then that's going to save you a ton on your next car because you don't have to worry about the interest and you don't have to worry about, the car loan itself and a couple of the things that may come along with that, where maybe you have to have higher insurance premiums or something because of carrying a car loan versus, going a little bit cheaper or something. So it's all different ways that you can look at it and, plan. It just depends on what your future goals look like when it comes to that.
Yeah, and what I kind of, I didn't really understand how the taxes and expenses work when I started, just how significant it is. And I don't really have enough income this year that's worth it. But I also realized, if I am underwater in that car loan, but if I sell it at, $10,000 loss, that's a business expense. And, that could kind of take care of my tax burden for next year. So, that's a factor to think of as well.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Best thing to do is always get a good CPA.
I was just gonna say, advice in general. I cringe when I think, I've been writing about vehicles, first motorcycles and then cars for a long time now. And whenever someone says to me, "Oh, I read your story about such and such, and I bought a such and such," I always cringe. I'm like, "Oh my God, this person made a major life decision based on something I said," and
You're like, I don't want to take responsibility for that. So there's going to be a disclaimer.
Well, of course I don't, but also I stand behind what I write, and I just want to. I always try to say, do what makes the most sense for your situation, for your use case. These are my observations about this, and this is what I would do. But hopefully, I'm not trying to be a weasel, Aaron. But Aaron, I think you made a great decision. I think that, but the only limitation is it just doesn't give you as much flexibility to get into a new vehicle anytime soon. But you don't need it. That's a great car. It's going to last you a really long time. We have one of our many viewers right now asked about how Will Connor wants to know how often does the battery really need to be replaced, and I would say it shouldn't, and it depends on the car is the first thing, and then the second thing is it depends on your driving style, but really a modern EV battery should outlast the car. The wheels will fall off, well, especially if it's a Toyota, but the wheels will fall off before before the battery wears out. Before that battery gets to the point where you can warranty it, 70% or 60% in some cases, your car's gonna have gone 500,000 miles. And raise your hand if you've driven a car with over 300,000 miles on it. Really? Oh, your Jeep, right?
No, the Jeep got to 194,000.
What did you have with over 300K?
I had a old Mazda Protege.
Oh, damn. And what was it like after 300,000 miles?
That was fine. I mean, it was a little louder, but other than that, it wasn't bad.
But the interiors held up pretty good?
Yeah. I mean, I take care of my cars. So
yeah,
no matter what car you look at that I had, it looked just as good the day I bought it as the day I got rid of it. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, if your car, do you really want a car for 10 years? 500,000 miles? That car?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. Well, my perspective is...
I look at it as, I don't feel like paying car loans. So if I don't have to, for the time that I have the car paid off, that's, I'm getting more use out of the car. So that just comes back to me tenfold then. So I can put that money towards another car. I could put that, what I can do is I can continue my car loan payment every single month, but putting it into savings. So then that way, again, I build it up, put it for a down payment on a car, or pay off the car entirely. That way I don't even have to worry about a car loan again. And you just do the same thing. And then once you hit a certain point, you could take that particular money, put it into something else, whether it's investment property, whether it's, some sort of other investment, whether it's paying off your mortgage, your house, credit card loans, whatever it might be. You want to make sure you're doing it in a smart way.
All right. Let's get to kind of the meat of this stuff, so we can, if Aaron and Steve have something else they want to do, they don't have to stick around. But I want to get Steve's reaction to the autonomous vehicle stuff, and
to full self-driving.
Yeah. But we have some other topics I thought we'd cover and then bring you back in, Steve. Is that okay? Do you mind?
Let him talk about the self-driving first, and then we'll go into the robo-fails.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So I've had FSD for, I don't know, a year or two now, and I've been using it, more and more recently.
Steve, tell us what you're driving and when you
It's a 2021 Model Y Performance.
Ooh.
So, part of it is
and then where do you drive?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
That's right.
Yep. And I also drive in Flagstaff, which is where I have vacation rental properties. So I drive a little bit there, but it's, there's a lot more stuff going on in Phoenix than Flagstaff, which is a pretty small little town.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been using the full self-driving quite a bit more now as it's gotten better. There was a time when you really didn't want to use it, with passengers because it would just mess up too much. But now it's getting really good. And, it's honestly, as long as you're using it correctly, as long as you're paying attention, it's definitely safer than driving just by yourself. Literally a week ago, I was in Flagstaff and it saved me from an accident. It would have been a fender bender. It was slow enough speed where I wouldn't have gotten injured, but it definitely saved my car being in the shop for weeks and weeks. So it was amazing. In fact, there's a video of it that I put up in the Facebook group. So if anyone wants to go back and look at that, it's about a minute long. But and that's another great thing too with the Tesla, right? It actually videos the accident. So it would have proven that what was not my fault, it would have been the other guy's fault. So
I'm gonna do a little screen share.
Okay.
So let's let me figure out how to do this. Here we go. Present screen share. And let's see here.
And I was just driving by myself when this happened, just so you know. But anyway.
I think even if you had passengers in the car, whether it's full self-driving or not, I think everybody's come to close calls. When it came to stupid people on the road and doing stupid stuff.
Sorry, I'm still trying to figure this out because there we go. This one, yeah, there we go. Let's see here. So there you go.
List of bumps on the side of my car, but it'll just buff right out literally.
I'm trying to figure out how to rewind this damn thing. Just refresh it.
Technical difficulties, everybody.
Yeah, I'm not good with this. Okay, here we go.
Wow, this just happened in Flagstaff. There was an ambulance, which made me look. If you see right there's the ambulance, and then boom, this car cut right in front of me. But the amazing thing is I was looking back at that ambulance right there when the when the guy cut right in front of me. So it was Tesla. I was in full self-driving. It actually swerved, and I have the tiniest of bumps on the side of my car, but it'll just buff right out literally. But incredible that the car completely swerved onto the parking lot. Where was it again? Let me find it. Let me do the front view so you can see it again in 1 second. Okay, it's that car right there is the one that's going to swerve right in front of me. And I am looking back right now, so I don't see this guy swerving in front of me. The car completely does that all on its own and saves me from a major fender bender. That is pretty freaking incredible. Okay, guys.
Good stuff, man.
Well, awesome to hear, Elon Musk. Good job.
I wonder if you, make sure you post your Tesla referral code, Steve.
Right.
You should tweet that at Elon on on Twitter.
X it at it.
Or I mean
Yeah,
on X.
I don't know. Is that
You
I
gotta
don't know.
X
What do you
that
call
now.
What do you call the individual messages on X? Do you call them
I think they're
X's?
X's.
Oh,
Something
God.
like that. Who knows?
I
Oh,
don't
God.
know.
Oy, this guy. Elon Musk is his own worst enemy.
Oh, for sure.
When
So,
you drive, you know, Tesla for Uber, everyone really does treat you like a Tesla salesperson, and you know, just starts asking questions and everything. And I haven't seen a dime from any of that recently. But if Elon, if you're watching, you know, can put my Venmo.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I still
so
get a lot
Steve,
of people asking questions, but then a lot of people have been in of Teslas way more than before now. So a lot of people just get in and it's another car. They've already asked their their questions about, oh, how long is the range and all that good stuff. So it is becoming more and more commonplace.
and Steve, do they still call this? Do they still call full self-driving beta?
They do, yeah, and it definitely is. I mean, it for every amazing thing it does, like in that video, it'll do something stupid. And most of the annoying stuff is like making bad lane changes. Like, say you need to make a right-hand turn, and then it'll get in the left-hand lane, and you're like, "What are you doing?"
Maybe,
So it's not
maybe it
most
thinks,
of it's not safety stuff, but it's just annoying, like dumb. Like, why did you do that?
maybe it thinks it's a BMW. Yes,
Who knows? Yeah, exactly. No blinker.
Right. But do you think full self-driving makes you more money, or is it just a safety thing, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't know about more money, but it definitely it makes driving less stressful. It clearly makes it safer. So, I'm not 3 weeks without my car. I mean, so that's worth something. And also too, if you look at it from a long-term perspective, like I want to own a car that potentially within the time that I'm going to be paying it off within 5 years, at some point in that 5 years, there's a, better than 50% chance that the car will be a robo-taxi. So, if I get any other car, I don't have that option at all. I have a 0% chance of that happening. With a Tesla, I've got a pretty decent chance. I mean, with, anything that Elon says, obviously takes a long time, but it typically does happen. I mean, look at, the rockets and all that other stuff. So I want those odds, to at least have a shot at it.
What do you think, Aaron? Have you tried FSD? Would you pay for it? You can get it by the month. You can just for $300, I think you can
200.
just try it. 200. You can just try it for a month for $200.
Yeah, so I had it for a while and was traveling last month, canceled it. And yeah, it is a lot of money to pay monthly on Uber, Lyft, kind of pay. And I would say for me, it definitely, I would say once I've seen the car drive a route successfully enough times, it would definitely save me energy, like Steve was saying, in terms of, I hit a certain highway. I'm like, I know I've seen it drive better than a human on this road. And there's kind of a sense for like, oh, there's some cones up ahead. I need to make sure, almost to automatically flip it off when you see something the car might not handle. But I would say for me, I mean, my eyes and my hands just get super tense doing this job. And I've kind of flipped it on with passengers. It's so easy to turn off and on, which I did really like. And I had a passenger once be like, oh, yeah, you look so much more relaxed the second it goes on. And I think when you're doing long hours, it is nice to have breaks and be able to look at the scenery, stretch out, wiggle around a little bit. But yeah, for me, I think if they kind of sold it that way, it's like, there's certain routes. I'm like, okay, I've seen the car do this so well. I can, really relax. You're supposed to still watch. And in terms of like bit by bit, trusting it more and taking a lot of the work out of driving, enjoying, it's fun using it on winding mountain roads, just kind of like a roller coaster, like, the smoothness around the turns and all. I think it would be really successful, but, it has been next year. Next year, it's going to drive you across the car while you sleep in the back seat, for many years now. And I'm not convinced they're really close to that. The big ones I watch out for are hitting potholes and bumps too hard. I'm just not convinced.
Yeah, I've had it where it sometimes it will avoid those, but most times it won't. But it does slow down for like speed bumps and stuff now. But not every single time, but I'd say 95% of the time. So yeah, it's you know, it's a case by case basis, but it definitely, I think, you know, you could drive, say, an extra hour because of your less fatigued, right? So that could, you know, indirectly create more
There's
money
your
for
extra
you.
money. Or I was thinking like maybe extra tips or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Definitely. Yeah, there's certain passengers who are really eager to see it and, you know,
Sure.
ask you for it,
tell.
and you're excited
You can
about the
tell. You
experience.
can tell. Can you tell when a passenger gets in and is about to ask you about your car? Like I can always tell. Like they get in, they're putting
Pretty
on the
much.
seatbelt, they're like,
Mhm.
hey, how do you like this thing? I've never ridden in a blah blah blah.
Oh yeah,
They always have
happens
that.
all the time.
But then what's amazing also is the number of people who just get into like a really fancy car like a Model Y or a brand new Mustang or something like that. They just get in and just got their phone. They could just give a shit what it is. They don't even know.
Well, that just goes to show you how many people are actually paying attention in the world.
Just in general. But
Exactly.
we've all been there, right? Where like you just like I have it in my coffee. Just get me to work.
Oh yeah.
Just pour me out on the curb. I don't care. Do you want to? Should we talk about some of these other topics? Do you want to talk about the EV life? I feel like they should be an advertiser. You see slide number 2. You pull up the slides. There you go. So this I thought was really interesting. What they do is they kind of defer. They loan you the full amount to buy the car, but they defer payments um, on any incentives like a tax credit or local incentives for up to 18 months to give you time to actually get those so that you can pay the loan down when you get those payments. And I just thought that was a really good idea. Plus, they kind of focus on financing electric vehicles, so there's like no surprises when you're talking to the loan underwriter or to the company. They're like, "What's that? We don't do that," or like we don't know that model. Sometimes you can these things will be strange. What do you guys think of product like this? Do you think there's a demand for this with EV drivers?
Hey, anything that gets your car payment lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd make your payment lower and also just makes it possible to
I mean, especially if
finance.
it's gonna take off interest. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interest is killing people.
I'd be
Isn't
curious.
it changing in 2024 though, where the credit comes off instantly, like at point of
Oh
sale? So
man,
would that still apply for this?
I don't know if we have a. I don't know if we have. Yeah, I assume so. I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. Last month. I emailed the IRS spokesperson, and I said, "What are the rules? How are the rules going to change in January? Other than just generally just for background for people who are listening or watching this, the Investment Reduction Act that was signed into law in 2022 provides a $7,500 tax credit for cars purchased for personal use, and it was applied as a tax credit. But starting in 2024, the law allows the tax credit to be transferred to a different entity other than the customer itself. So, but the rules are indistinct. They don't say whose income it's going to be counted against. Is it going to be the dealership or the OEM's income, or are they still going to go by the buyer? So I'm assuming that GM or Tesla is always going to have enough tax liability to take advantage of this credit, but I'm going to say 70 or 80% of Americans don't. So I'm just wondering. I still don't know, and the IRS didn't know either. They haven't actually written the rules. They haven't given any particulars about what's going to happen on January 1st when you go into a car dealer and you're like, hey, federal law. And when something is federal law, like Congress voted for it and the president signed it, like if something's federal law, it has to happen. The IRS can't say, oh, well, we didn't have the rules ready, so you can't take advantage of that. No, they have to. So something's going to happen in the next, 12 weeks or so. But we just don't know what those rules are yet. They really didn't know. The Treasury Department sent me an email. She said, we don't know. It's basically what they said in very long government speak, but we don't know. And the IRS is like, we don't know. So who knows what's going to happen, but it's possible. And also there's this loophole for commercial use. So we all use our vehicles commercially. So will this tax credit can you apply it to a dealer if you're buying a car for Uber or Lyft? And if that's the case, there's no requirement for where the car is made or where the batteries come from, which is the requirement for personal use vehicles. Like they have to be manufactured in North America, and a certain percentage of the battery material has to come from countries we have a free trade agreement with, and yada yada. If it's a commercial vehicle, if it's for commercial use, if it's under 15,000 pounds, the batteries can be from Stalinist Russia, and the car can be built by aliens, and you'll still get that $7,500. 40,000 if it's over 15,000 pounds, by the way. So maybe load up a Model X.
Cybertruck.
Yeah, a Cybertruck, and then load it up with pig iron.
I actually did see a Tesla Cybertruck or a semi truck on the road for the first time recently.
I saw one too, driving down I-5 on my road trip. It was crazy. It was all, did it have the Pepsi stickers on it?
I just saw the Tesla in the front, and I was actually driving a big trailer at that point, not an EV, and I was like, oh, maybe it'll pass us. And it passed us in like half a second. I was like, great, of course it would. But yeah, I couldn't tell what
Colorado or
I was near Reno, leaving Burning Man.
Oh, that makes sense because Burnley.
That's I haven't seen them in Colorado.
I think they're making them. Steve, are they making? Do you know? Are they making the semi in Reno?
Yeah, they're making it in Nevada.
Yeah.
Although they've only made, I think, 70 or so far. So they're kind of finishing up all the testing and trialing with Pepsi, and then at some point they'll start cranking them out for.
I saw everyone else. They're hiring for that production facility.
They're testing them on Donner Pass because there's some videos on YouTube of it just whizzing past all the other semi trucks in between them up the hill. And pretty close.
If that thing isn't towing a trailer, if it's just the cab, like my God, that must have a lot of power.
Yeah,
good Lord,
vroom vroom,
pull the space shuttle with it. So what else we got? Should we talk about robo fails?
Oh, absolutely.
Robo fail time.
Oh, absolutely. These pieces of crap.
Steve's not involved in these ones.
Huh?
Steve's not involved in these ones.
No, this is Cruise.
These are actual Robo-taxis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Cruise got the California DMV, which kind of permits testing. They don't permit the cars, but they permit the testing in California. And they told Cruise they had to cut their fleet in half. So Cruise took those cars and sent them to Austin because that's in Texas, and you can do anything in Texas. And they promptly caused this horrifying traffic jam that was on social media, and there's gridlock. Apparently, these cars, they just kind of they platoon. I guess they have a platoon function where if they all headed back, they need to all head back to the garage at the same time. They just all kind of drive in a big pack, and the pack got stuck on this residential side street, and it just like everything just shuts down. And
you know what it reminds me of? You know the movie I, Robot with Will Smith?
Yeah.
You know that movie?
Yeah. And
you know when I think what was it, Sonny, I think his name was, he had that dream and it was talking about all the robots and where it was like the Lake Michigan bridge or something, and then later in the movie it was actually like all where the robots went that were all like the old ones, and they all like huddled together and stuff. This is what it reminds me of. It's like the AI is all just kind of like huddling together here.
We're scared. Where do we go? We don't know what to do. It really is hilarious to see these driving around San Francisco. Oh my God. Outside Lands was a big music festival we had, last month. And all of a sudden it seemed like they were everywhere because San Francisco's not a big city. And there's not really that many places where you can drive. So even if there's only 300 of these cars out there, it looks like they're everywhere. And I'm sure that's not an accident, right?
Well, and they're so
wants to do
recognizable
it.
too, with not only the logos but
Yeah,
all the equipment.
and also there's no one in the car. And which is really, I mean, no matter how many times I see that, man, it is jarring to see a car. Do you remember how, like, maybe when you were a kid, you look over and there was a car being towed with all four wheels on the ground, and it was being towed behind another car, and you would look at the car and you're like, oh my God, the tailgating, and there's no one in it. Like, it's this freaky thing to see. I still feel that freaky dislocated, and the steering wheel's like moving like this, even though there's no one driving.
Have you guys driven in one yet?
I'm not doing that. I don't want to get one of those. If
I did a
one of
Waymo about a month ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because they're in
Phoenix,
right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It was because I do FSD all the time. It felt very similar to that, so it wasn't like super freaky for me. But that's probably just because I've been doing it so much that it's just kind of normal now. But I could see how someone else, it would definitely be pretty wild.
I think that's one of the easiest things for people to adapt to will be you get in and the thing drives you. And I think people will get used to that very quickly, even though most of my passengers, when I ask them about it, they're like, oh, hell no. Because they're like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing that.
Right.
That's
I think it's,
first reaction,
the people that just sit in the car and just are on their phones, not paying attention. Those are the people that will adapt to self-driving cars, these robo-taxis, probably a little bit more so than the majority of other people.
And my experience with it was, I was so scared the first times, that it wouldn't stay in the lane, it wouldn't stop. And then I was kind of shocked how quickly I got incredibly comfortable with it. Like, okay, I'm ready. I want to go to sleep. Drive me to California. And also, just I've had passengers, neighbors, my brother, ride while I'm using it as a driver. And I say, do you feel safe around these corners? They're like, yeah, it's great. It's smooth. And then I have them sit behind in the driver's seat, and they're horrified. And, it's a very different experience when you're in that seat and you're responsible. Whereas when you're in the back, it can just kind of feel like smooth and safe and normal.
Yeah. And speaking of safe and normal, there was another move last week. A woman was probably a jaywalker, guessing by the location of the crash. But a woman was crossing the street. A hit and run driver hit her because she's in the crosswalk on a red light. And a driver of another car hit her. That driver took off. But of course, the cruise vehicle saw her flying towards it and slowed down as much as it could, but she still got squished underneath the car. I don't know how that happened, but she was stuck underneath the right rear wheel, and they had to get the jaws of life to pull her out of there. And I'm sure the screams were audible for blocks, is my guess.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyway, I expect she will get, even though it was mostly her and the other driver's fault because she was walking across the street on a red light in the middle of the night. I think she's probably going to get a big fat check from GM, is my guess. Right? Of course, I don't know the full facts of the case, so maybe she's completely innocent. But I don't think so.
They could just give her money, like hush money, just to be like, oh, keep it quiet or something.
Still, Steve, do you think Tesla's full self-driving would have done better in these two cases that we
I mean, no idea. Well, only because maybe there's a human still in the car. But its own, what it would do on its own. I mean, I would have slowed down as much as possible. But once you're on top of someone, it clearly wouldn't know what to do other than sit there.
Wait, I put this, can we pull that slide up again? Or I'll just read it. In a statement, Cruise said, a human driving, look how judgy they are about people in this statement. I wouldn't be surprised if artificial intelligence didn't write this statement for Cruise. In a statement, Cruise said a human-driven vehicle struck a pedestrian while traveling in the lane immediately to the left of a Cruise AV. The initial impact was severe and launched the pedestrian directly in front of the AV. The AV then braked aggressively to minimize the impact. The driver of the other vehicle fled the scene. This shows that the human in the other vehicle fled the scene, and at the request of the police, the AV was kept in place. Our heartfelt concern and focus is the well-being of the person who was injured, and we are actively working with police to help identify the responsible human driver. One interesting thing
I
was
would
reading
have
about
to
this.
say though, I would think they say that per request of the police that it was kept in place. I would think that they would have to keep it. So if like the car recognized, oh, I hit something, don't you think that it would have to, like, in its coding, have to stop and just wait there, and then like
Yeah.
alert somebody and say, hey, I hit something or something like that?
I mean, I'd assume. It certainly, they certainly stop when a traffic cone is put on their hood.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, it is good that it's good in that way, because I think a lot of the things about EVs, unfortunately, a person hitting somebody in their car is mundane and not a news story. But then when an autonomous vehicle does it, it's going to get people scared of that. So I think it is good that they emphasize that it wasn't the car's fault, because that can be taken out of context. I mean, like, I see 20 Subarus in a blizzard in ditches, no press. Then one Tesla has a problem in the snow, and it's international news. Then electric cars.
100%. I mean, that's been happening since day one.
I mean, when you're the leader, the highest nail gets the most blows from the hammer. That's one thing I've learned in life. But one interesting thing about these cars is first responders can open the car, and there's like a safety button in there that then they can shut it down so it won't move anymore, which is
now what happened
if the car cooperates.
The thing though I want to know is, okay, sometimes you have cops that are directing traffic. You've probably seen the video of the Waymo or the Cruise, I can't remember which, that the cop was trying to get the car to move over to this way, and he's like, this way, and there's people in the car, like in the back seat and as passengers. They're like, we can't do anything. We're not driving the car. Like, it's like, you think they would have something like that would put into their coding again? Oh, there's a person recognized, and then there's the hand movements, and like, it's not that hard to be able to track something like that with the technology that they have on these things. Why wouldn't you be able to, like, okay, here, so now we got to kind of go this way?
And that's your chance to ignore the police and not be responsible for it, right? Some people
the problem is
just like human drivers in San Francisco.
That's one of the biggest things, though, that people have the question on: who is going to be responsible for the vehicle's self-driving? If it's a Tesla full self-driving vehicle, it's the driver, because you are still in control of the vehicle. It's not going to be on Tesla. The thing is, when it comes to Cruise or Waymo, it's going to fall on to the company themselves, because they're the ones who are providing it. So that's where it's going to come down to, and they're still trying to figure that out. But that's what you got to figure out, the type of autonomy that it is, and then who's really responsible.
I looked at this issue because there was a comment posted on a story about Cruise, about this exact thing. Who's responsible for when it breaks the law? And it depends on, there's two or three really important distinctions. The first is did it break a civil law or a criminal law? And then so that's going to go to what state this happened in. And then the second question is, if it's kind of a civil thing, where does the liability rest? So if it's civil, it's going to depend on the kind of injury and the kind of loss. So if it's like a product's liability issue, it's going to go to the manufacturer and the operator. They're going to be like jointly or severably liable. And if it's like a criminal issue, then it depends on how the statute's written. So most states specify, it's funny, California used to say a person in each one of these kind of infraction codes about like running stop signs or running stoplights or lane changes, stuff like that, or speeding. It said no person shall operate a vehicle so that it does this. But now it says, it doesn't say that. No vehicle, it just says in this very vague way, no vehicle shall be operated. And so I think that's going to make it easier to assign criminal liability to just the operator in general, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And the car is the operator.
This is going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. But it's clear that if you're in a Tesla and your hands are on the steering wheel, then you're clearly the operator no matter what the car does. But then if the car does injure someone despite you trying to control it, and it's a defective, it's a defect in design or assembly or something like that, well, then the liability is going to go to Tesla. There's actually a criminal case going on right now in LA with that limo driver that killed the people in the Honda. Right? He was on full self-driving. He rear-ended a car at like 60 miles an hour. You guys following that case? He was charged with manslaughter.
Clearly wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. And
yeah.
was the car.
I mean, it's just like, it's basically advanced cruise control, right? I mean, it does a lot more, but it's the same thing. You're still the driver.
Now, one place where this can affect criminal liability is the mens rea, is the driver's state of mind when the law is broken, right? So most laws, not infractions, but like misdemeanors and felonies, you have to have some kind of intent. So, for instance, manslaughter, the defendant, to be convicted, the defendant has to have been showing like wanton disregard. Like it depends on how the statute's written and in what state, but generally they have to have been just acting just totally without any regard for human safety. And if they had some kind of reasonable idea that the car would be taking care of it, that's going to be harder to argue in front of a jury. And the thing about criminal law is that it has to be beyond any kind of doubt, any kind of reasonable doubt that the defendant did it. Where civil law, it's only more likely than not. So it's, instead of being 99% sure, you only have to be 51% sure. So that's really going to affect things. And so my prediction is that there's not going to be a lot of criminal cases arising from any kind of autonomous vehicles, but there's going to be a lot of civil cases.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
going to be a lot
Absolutely.
of lawsuits. And they're going to be endless.
Yeah, I mean,
tangled.
The big thing is, I don't think when it comes to the like criminal side of stuff, I don't think it's going to be, easy to do anyway with it. You're going to be looking more on the civil side, which is going to be monetary value or something, because it's probably going to be dealing with injury mostly, or something along that nature, versus breaking the law. When it comes to like manslaughter or something like that, or running a pedestrian over and killing them, or getting into an accident and the person in the back seat may pass away. Those types of things could be looked at different, but I think it's going to be a civil issue when it comes down to it, because you have code that's really driving the vehicle, and the sensors, and you'll probably have to figure it out. But if there's malicious code, then yeah, you have a criminal intent there or something. But I think they're all going to get the same sort of code, so it's probably going to be more of a civil liability versus anything else.
Yeah. Although, if your code, if you hired, maybe you hired some idiot that you knew you shouldn't have hired to write this very sensitive code that could create a really dangerous situation if it's done wrong, and you hired these morons and you knew they were morons and you had them do it anyway, that might rise to the criminal negligence level required for a criminal conviction. But honestly, most prosecutors, district attorneys, they're not going to want to mess around with that. They want convictions. They don't want to swing for the fences with some kind of crazy theory. This is all going to be civil. But we've probably beaten that horse half to death, or even more dead, or whatever the analogy is.
And the Tesla software, I think the advantage is it is very easy to turn on and off. To just turn it off for a second if you're not sure, click it back on. What I get worried about is when I'm on long drives that it does well, I find it's very hard to continue staying vigilant. And, after a couple hours, it's like the car is doing great. It's really hard to pay attention when you're not really engaged. But it's still making kind of dangerous mistakes at some point, and you're still responsible. And some of the AI experts have said it'll actually get more dangerous, because if it's trying to kill you every 5 minutes, you're going to be watching it, like a teenager wanting to drive, whatever. If it's trying to kill you every 4 hours, you're still dead, but you're going to be checked out.
That's not a wild argument if you consider some of us are driving 50, 60, 70 hours a week.
Yep.
If it only happens every 10,000, once every 10,000 minutes, then it's still going to happen pretty frequently.
Yeah, I've often wondered if like some of the dumb lane changes that it makes are for that very reason, right? Like, we're going to make it appear worse than it actually is, just to keep people attentive. I don't know.
My headphone batteries died. Is there an echo? Does it sound okay?
Oh, there's going to be an echo when we talk. Yep,
Okay.
there it is.
Is there an echo from me? Because I'm not using headphones.
No, but from everybody else there will be.
Oh, okay. So should I go back to the headphones?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to need to.
Put me on mute, and then let's talk about your Chris's Gateway EV.
Apparently, I have a Gateway EV. This is something that you had brought up, Gabe. So when I was going through the slides here, I don't know. It's Honda's new EV that they're kind of touting. So if you're watching football or something now, you're probably starting to see John Cena talking about this in the background, talking about the new Honda Prologue that's coming out. I don't know. I'd have to go. I have to go and see it. Maybe give it a little test drive or something in order to see if it's going to be worth it or not. But I mean, it's Honda. Hondas are great in my opinion, so I can't complain there.
I think what I want to talk about is like what was your threshold EV, Steve and Aaron? Is this, I don't know if this is your first, if your EVs you have are your first EVs or if you've had others before, right? My question is like, there's going to be some car that's going to turn even the most hardcore anti-EV person into an EV driver, and I think we all have different thresholds. And I'm wondering if Steve, if the Model Y was what did it for you, or what was?
I mean, I've been driving them since 2014, so my first one was a Model S. But those were expensive at the time, obviously. I think for the average person, I mean, honestly, I don't know why you would get something like a Honda. It's their first EV attempt. And it's, it's not priced like 30 grand or something crazy that would attract a lot of people. The supercharger network is far and away the best. I'm not sure. Does anyone know, has Honda signed up for the Tesla network or not? I know most of the big ones have, but I don't know if they have.
Adopting what they call the NACS, the North American Charging Standard. Honda, I could probably Google it really fast, but I can't remember. But God, almost everybody.
I think they may have.
Kia's going to start.
But I mean, that's a big deal, because I've gone on tons of road trips, and I've used some of the other, like the Electrify America, which is typically terrible. I mean, it's like Russian roulette. Hey, is there going to be one that's open? B, is it going to work? Or at a minimum, I may have to spend 15 minutes getting the thing to work, which is just time you'll never get back in your life, right? Where, on the Tesla network, you just never have to think about it. You just plug it in and go about your business, do something else, whatever, scroll Facebook, whatever. And then, when your car's done, you're good to go.
Yeah. Although Tesla is opening up its network there are the Magic docks that allow DC fast chargers to they
just opened up a handful of them in the last week or so. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what their strategy is, though, since they're all the manufacturers are kind of going to it anyway. So
Well, there's going to be an existing very large fleet of cars with the DCFC connectors, the CCS connectors. So, if Tesla wants federal funding, they have to make their chargers available to.
Right, but I think they're offering adapters for all the old cars. So it's not like it matters if you have the native plug or adapter thing on your car, or if you have a CCS one, because you're going to get an adapter. So I don't know.
Well, Gabe, what's going on with this right here?
I did that this morning. I'm like, why not? It's a refundable deposit, and I don't know, maybe I'll want the thing after if I get to drive it. Basically, what I don't like about my Chevy Bolt is that it charges so slow, and I was going to talk about my road trip I made last week, but oh God, the CCS charging is painfully slow, and something with double the charging speed, like the new Volvo. This is the new Volvo EX30. It's going to be their smallest EV that they've made to date. It is a few inches shorter than my Bolt EV, but it should have a nice spacious cabin. They're also promising really good efficiency. Their EPA rated efficiency is actually better than the Bolts.
Is it a crossover? I mean, you can't really tell from the photo.
Oh yeah, it is a crossover.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I should have put it. That would have been smart if I had put a better picture in there.
I was going to say, if that's a tease, that's definitely a tease, because you're going to only see half the car.
Oh yeah, no, there's full pictures. If you Google EX30, you'll see some.
You mean it's not a stretch limo?
It's not a stretch limo. One thing. My apartment building was built in 1925, so the garages were designed for Model Ts. And I don't know if you've seen a Model T, but they're very small. They're very narrow. They're not very long. Plus, I got to get my motorcycles in front of the car. So like a Model 3 is like pushing it. I was able to get a Mach-E in there, but man, it's a squeeze to get in and out of the garage, and I always dent and scratch things pulling in and out. So I want a really small car, and that's one thing that's really lacking in the American EV market. Like, I don't understand why they don't make more smaller EVs available. I get it, Americans are fat and tall, and they like big cars, but some of us want a little car for cruising around the city, and they're great for rideshare, and that small size is really something that's interesting to me. And then if I register it, then if it's for commercial use, even light commercial use, as it says in the code, in the IRA legislation, I can get the tax credit, though don't know if it's transferable. So I'm going to find out all those things, and maybe I'll trade in the Bolt and get this.
I think they look great. I mean, I haven't driven one, but I think they look great.
When's this supposed to be coming?
They are taking reservations now. They're going to configure the cars like in the next month, and I'm assuming the first deliveries will probably be like April, May next year.
Okay, so you'll have plenty of time to know what's going to happen with the IRS and all that going on with these tax credits.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, why don't we talk about your little adventure here?
My road trip. Oh yeah, and then also, and I guess, and then just to gloss over, but I'm doing a story on the Model Y. I just finished writing it, and hopefully that'll be on the RideShare Guy pretty soon. But I wrote a model about, like, would you recommend using a Model Y for rideshare? And even before I said, yeah, I think it's a great rideshare car, but of course the main caveat is expenses. It's a pricey car, but they just dropped the price again. They're again making the can we pull that slide up, just the one before? Or yeah, they dropped the price again. It's now $43,990, and it's eligible for the full $7,500 tax credit. That's a pretty good price for a Model Y.
I saw Elon's tweet yesterday that with the tax credit involved, the $7,500 down for the Model Y, it brings it to $32,000.
Well, this says $43,990 minus $7,500. I think is a little bit.
But what I'm saying, like,
but in
let me see if I can
California,
pull up that tweet.
In California, you get another $3,500.
Yeah, I'm not sure
2,000.
what that was, but I saw that earlier in a tweet that Elon posted.
But this This car is a little down on performance from Steve's. Right, Steve?
Yeah, 6.6 0 to 60 is the slowest Tesla I think they've ever produced. But whatever.
Oh no, even more than the Model S, the 40 kilowatt pack.
Well, that you're right. That one may have been slower. I can't remember, but I think they only made like 30 of those or something ridiculous.
And have
right,
you ever
right
met
here.
anyone with the off book $35,000 Model 3? Did anyone ever actually buy one of those?
Yeah, there was a couple, but yeah, not many.
I wonder.
Yeah, right here. Tesla North America Model Y rear-wheel drive is now available in the U.S. starting at $32,890 after $7,500 federal tax credit and estimated gas savings.
Huh. Maybe I didn't. Oh, maybe they didn't.
Oh, that's with the gas savings, though. So
that's with the gas savings. That's what it is. I mean, come on. If you're
I don't want a gas savings. I just want what is coming out of my pocket.
That's a perfect segue for my road trip story.
All right, let's talk about it because we got to wrap this up in a few.
I had to go down to LA for a funeral, sadly. So I'm like, should I fly or should I drive? I'm like, fuck it, I'll drive. So I hop in my car, and of course, the first 5 miles, I get a low tire pressure warning, and I have a nail in my car, and because that's my 11th flat tire in a year.
Wow.
Driving in Oakland, I'm telling you, man.
Dude, you need to get out of the Bay Area, man.
Well, come on.
Jeez.
It's you know what I do? I have that stop and go pocket tire plugger. Oh my God. If you don't have one of these things, you got to get one of those things. If you don't carry a spare, you need that. You have a little compressor with your car if you don't have a spare. They probably gave you one. And one of these things, you find the nail or screw, you pull it out with a pair of pliers, you put in these plugs. The plugs are mushroom shaped. So they go in from the outside, but then you pull them back out, and the mushroom part, sits against the inside of the tire. They say the official word is go get your tire professionally repaired with an adhesive patch and blah, blah, blah. But I have so many of these things in my car. Like some of my tires have 3 of those in them, and they're fine. They're fine. You have a tire pressure monitor. They hold air just fine. And anyway, I'd say have one of these plug kits. Boy, it'll save you so much time, and you won't you won't have to miss a day of work. Sourcing a new tire. Just plug that thing. I even buy used tires now because I'm not spending $250 on a new tires. It's going to get a dozen screws in it in the next 3 months. Forget it. Anyway.
So what's this total cost at $70 times 7.5 hours each way, 350 miles?
Yeah, usually. So if you go 80 miles an hour down to LA and you have enough gas in your car, you can make that trip in 5 hours. So if you have a huge bladder, you don't even have to get out of the car. Just drive down there. I've done that once. This took me 7.5 hours each way, which, if I'd been going the speed limit in a regular car, it would have taken 6.5. So I think even with the Bolt, which charges so slowly on the CCS, when you're doing a fast charge, it takes 45. It takes you go in there with 20%. It's going to take you an hour to get back to 80. And I know for a Tesla owner, that's horrifying to imagine spending that much time. But honestly, you sit down and you have a nice lunch, and it's 45 minutes anyway, right? So what's another 15 minutes? And I only had to stop once. Now that'd be a different story if there had been if it had been colder, or if it had been much hotter. But the weather was perfect, and so the reason I wanted to bring up this road trip is one thing you see, and I'll bet there's even a comment right now in the comments about, my Prius, it's always a Prius, my Prius can go 700 miles on a gas tank, and I never have to miss any work waiting to charge. I'm not gonna, and I'm like,
well, I was gonna say it cost me $56 to fill my tank, and I get it 400 miles. So
yeah, well,
and I have a 22 Honda Pilot, so it's a little bit bigger. It's not a Prius, and that's what I was saying. The $70 there.
What's gas a gallon in where you in Buffalo?
Where I pay $337.
Okay. On I-5, it was $6.40.
Yeah, see, that would be almost double right there. So
Yeah.
you take that $56, now you're over $100.
Yeah. I did it. So I did it's $70 round trip is what I should have said. So I didn't write that caption right. So I drove over 700 miles for $70, and that was
Okay.
using a DC fast charger at peak time, so like 50 cents a kilowatt hour. And it's amazing how much you can increase your efficiency just by going a reasonable speed. I kept my cruise control at between 68 and 71 miles an hour, had my AC set to 71 degrees, and that car was returning 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour, which is super efficient. And I just think that having a lighter weight car that's more efficient can be more important than battery size or charging speed. So that's something to consider if you're looking into buying a car. What do you guys think when you're road tripping and working long shifts? Like, what do you guys do? You do a lot of fast charging? Like, how do you guys handle charging?
Yeah, I rented a bought for a week when my Tesla was in the shop, and wanted to give it a shot with an open mind. And for me, I mean, charging my Tesla really, I kind of get tired of people asking about it because I'm like, if you understand how to charge a phone, you understand how to charge a Tesla. Like, you just plug it in and go about your day. And, it's not a big part of my life. It's like I kind of know where they are. I just go, I plug it in, go on the Target, do my grocery shopping. It's beeping that it's full by the time I'm done. Whereas the Bolt, the Electrified it just seems all overly complicated and kind of gimmicky. It's got all these fancy graphics on the screen, road trip by Electrify, and I'm kind of like, it needs to be invisible. Like, I don't get all this fanfare and marketing about charging my phone. It just needs to be
you're already there,
background of my life. And
you're already there at the charge station. You don't need to sell me. Like, just give me some electricity. Yeah, I had a problem with Electrify America because I'm supposed to, my Uber, if you're an Uber or Lyft driver, you get a discount. You guys know that, right? But you might not. Well, you might not because you're Tesla. You guys have Tesla, so. But if
we don't use it. But
yeah, you get like, it's significant. It's like 30%. But I plugged into Electrify America, one of the brand new charge stations, up to 350 kilowatts, and it didn't work. It only worked by using my credit card on the reader attached to the charger, and so I didn't get my Lyft driver discount, which would have saved me like $3, but whatever, that was aggravating. And then I called customer service, and that was a joke because
worse than Uber Sport.
We're experiencing higher demand than you're not. You know how much
you just have 3 people on the phones, and you got 72 people calling in.
It's gone to the team that doesn't exist.
Ooh, and another thing I wanted to add, this might be of import to people with cars who do charge faster. I was at that Electrify America charge station in Kettleman City, which is lovely, and there was a Mercedes EQB, and then a bunch of Kias pulled in, EV6s, right, and then a Porsche too. So those are all cars that are supposed to be able to charge just ridiculously fast. They all have 800-volt architecture, so they can charge super fast. Not at that station. That station promised 350. I never saw higher than 200, and it sunk back down to like 160 for all of those guys and me, it just kept it at 50 the whole time, So, but those guys, the reason those 350 chargers don't maintain those speeds is because Electrify America, their infrastructure, and EVgo, their infrastructure uses a battery. There's a storage battery at the station, and if that storage battery is full of extra electricity that they buy when the rates are cheaper, if that battery isn't charged all the way, then it just pulls off the grid and the charge speed's much lower. So that's something that when they promise that 350, even if it's promised on the PlugShare app or on the Electrify America app, you're probably not going to get it. What's your experience with the promised charge speeds on Tesla chargers, you guys?
I mean, it varies, but I'll say this though, you don't even really need fast charging to have a successful month on doing rideshare. For example, in last March, which is the busy season in Scottsdale, because that's where, you know, all the events are happening and whatnot. So that month I drove, you know, probably 60 hours a week or whatever. And the entire month I did not use a fast charger one time. And I made, you know, a little over 10 grand for the month. And I certainly did it full time that month because it was busy, but you know, sometimes I go a whole month without even doing rideshare. So I just do this part time, but I did it a lot then because it was busy. And I just, you know, I would do the morning rush, you know, with a full battery. Then I would come home when it was slow. I would plug it back in, take care of other business and my other job. While it's charging up, and then hop back on, and that's all I did. And I literally did not supercharge at all.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, we have to wrap the show up. Steve and Aaron, you guys were awesome guests. I hope you'll be on again if we ask extra place.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks for having us.
And thanks so much for your participation in the forum. I think our forum's really great. Please come and check it out. EV, Uber and Lyft drivers. Just search for that on the Facebook. If you still got the Facebooks, anything.
And link. It's also linked in the description. So if you want to check that out.
Oh yeah.
So thanks for watching.
Thank you, Chris, for your hard work on putting this show together. I just show up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then well, you as well. So thanks, Steve and Aaron. Appreciate that for coming on.
You guys.
And you know, make sure you are subscribed here to the RideShare Guy. This is EV Money. We will be back next month. And also, don't forget, we also have our Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, and Money Hungry with Kim and Zach on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and all of our other great content here on the RideShare Guy. So make sure you're subscribed. And with that being said, have a great rest of your week, month, everybody, and enjoy. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you.